Salam and welcome back to Amharic Academy. In this video, we're continuing our series of learning grammar and vocabulary through short stories. Just like our previous two videos, we'll be reading the story 3 times. First with subtitles, then with explanations, and finally without subtitles to put your comprehension to the test. So today the story we will be reading is called ማንበብ እወዳለሁ. ማንበብ እወዳለሁ, which means I like to read. ማንበብ means to read, and then እወዳለሁ is I like. So let's read the story together. ማንበብ እወዳለሁ. ለማን ማንበብ እችላለሁ? እህቴ ተኝታለች። ለማን ማንበብ እችላለሁ? እናቴና ሴት አያቴ ስራ ላይ ናቸው። ኪችን ውስጥ ምግብ እየሰሩ ነው። ለማን ማንበብ እችላለሁ? አዎ፣ ለካ ለአባቴና ወንድ አያቴ ማንበብ እችላለሁ። አባቴና ወንድ አያቴ ስራ ላይ ናቸው። ውጪ መኪና እየሰሩ ነው። ለማን ማንበብ እችላለሁ? ለራሴ ማንበብ እችላለሁ። Okay, now let's break down the grammar. So on the first page it says ማንበብ እወዳለሁ, which means I like to read. ማንበብ means to read, and እወዳለሁ means I like. And usually when you use two verbs together, the infinitive comes first. So it's not like English. In English we will say I like to read, but in Amharic you'll have to say to read I like. So the infinitive ማንበብ to read comes first, and then you can use the second verb after the infinitive. On the second page it says ለማን ማንበብ እችላለሁ. For whom can I read to? ለማን means for whom, and le it means to or for, and man is who. So for example you can say ማን ነው, which means who is he, or you can say ማን ናት, who is she, or you can say ማን ነህ, who are you, to a man, or you can say ማን ነሽ, who are you, to a woman. So the verbs we used, like ነው, ነች, ነህ, ነሽ, are all verb to be's. And then it says ማንበብ. So we said ማንበብ means to read, which is the infinitive, and then እችላለሁ. So እችላለሁ means can I, and እችላለሁ can also be used as a statement to say I can, because in Amharic intonation and how you say things play an important role. So with the question you raise your voice at the end. You say እችላለሁ, and with the statement your voice is monotonic. So you say እችላለሁ. So እችላለሁ can be both a question or a statement depending on how you say it. And it's not only for እችላለሁ but for other verbs too. You don't have to rearrange the sentences in order to construct questions or statements. You just have to say it with a different intonation. And then on the third page it says እህቴ ተኝታለች። እህቴ ተኝታለች. My sister is asleep. So እህቴ means my sister. So እህት means sister, and then the a makes it my. So እህቴ, my sister. And then ተኝታለች means she's sleeping. And on the next page, he says, ለማን ማንበብ እችላለሁ? For whom can I read to? So as we said earlier, ለማን is for whom, le can be to or for, and man, who, ማንበብ እችላለሁ, can I read? So in the same way, you can say, for example, መሄድ እችላለሁ, can I go? So መሄድ is to go, and then እችላለሁ, መሄድ እችላለሁ. So let's use እችላለሁ verb to be able to, and let's try to construct some useful phrases. So for example, you can say አማርኛ ትንሽ እችላለሁ. አማርኛ ትንሽ እችላለሁ, which means I can speak Amharic a little bit. So here we didn't actually use the verb to speak. So the literal translation is Amharic a little bit, I can. But in this case, verb to speak is optional. So you can say it with or without it. So if we use the verb to speak, then the sentence becomes አማርኛ ትንሽ መናገር እችላለሁ. So መናገር means to speak, መናገር. And the negative of እችላለሁ is አልችልም, I cannot. So for example, you can say አማርኛ በደንብ አልችልም, አማርኛ በደንብ አልችልም, which means I can't speak Amharic well. I don't know much Amharic, basically. And here, we didn't use verb to speak as well. So the verb to speak is optional. So you can say አማርኛ በደንብ መናገር አልችልም. And በደንብ means well. And if you want to ask others if they speak English, then you can say እንግሊዘኛ ትችላለህ? እንግሊዘኛ ትችላለህ? So እንግሊዘኛ is how we say English. እንግሊዘኛ. ትችላለህ means can you to a man. ትችላለህ, but it can also be a statement. You can as well. And then to a woman, you can say እንግሊዘኛ ትችያለሽ? እንግሊዘኛ ትችያለሽ? And you can also use verb to speak here. And then it says እናቴ እና ሴት አያቴ ስራ ላይ ናቸው. My mother and my grandma are working. So እናቴ, my mother, እናት, mother, and the suffix a makes it my. እና and ሴት አያቴ, my grandma. ስራ work, ላይ on, ናቸው, they are. So ስራ ላይ means on work, literally. So ላይ can be used to say, for example, ጠረጴዛ ላይ, which means on table. Or you can say ወንበር ላይ, which means on chair. If you want to say on the chair, you can say ወንበሩ ላይ, or you can say ጠረጴዛው ላይ, ጠረጴዛው ላይ, which means on the table. And then it says kitchen ውስጥ ምግብ እየሰሩ ነው, which means they are making food in the kitchen. So kitchen is English word. We have a word for kitchen in Amharic, but it's not very common. We actually use the English word when saying kitchen. ውስጥ means in or inside. ምግብ, food. እየሰሩ ነው means they are making or they are doing. They are making or they are doing. እየሰሩ ነው. So in Amharic, the prefix እየ and the suffix ነው are used when explaining about things in present continuous. So for example, if you want to say I am eating, you say እየበላሁ ነው. Or if you want to say I am going, you say እየሄድኩ ነው. And the grammar rule for this is you conjugate እየ and ነው with the simple past. So for example, ሰሩ here it means they did or they made. So that's the simple past. And you conjugate that with እየ and ነው to change it to present continuous. So for example, in the same way, በላው means I ate, and እየበላሁ ነው means I am eating. እየሄድኩ ነው, we said it means I am going, but ሄድኩ means I went. And then እየ and ነው makes it present continuous. So እየሄድኩ ነው means I am going. So for example, you can say ወደ ቤት እየሄድኩ ነው. ወደ ቤት እየሄድኩ ነው. Or you can say ምሳ እየበላሁ ነው. ምሳ እየበላሁ ነው. And then it says ለማን ማንበብ እችላለሁ? For whom can I read to? አዎ, yes. ለካ ለአባቴና ወንድ አያቴ ማንበብ እችላለሁ. So ለካ here it's used as oh. So when you remember something, you can say ለካ. And then he says ለአባቴ, which means for my father, le for or to, and then abbat is father, and the suffix a makes it my. So la abbate, for my father. And na and wend ayate, wend means male, and then ayat is grandparent generally, and wend ayat means grandfather, and wend ayate, my grandfather. ማንበብ to read እችላለሁ, I can. አባቴና ወንድ አያቴ ስራ ላይ ናቸው. My dad and my grandpa are working. ውጪ outside. መኪና car. እየሰሩ ነው. So እየሰሩ ነው here it means they are fixing. But earlier we said it can be used to say they are making when it's food, or when fixing something you can also use it. You can say እየሰሩ ነው, they are fixing. So እየሰሩ ነው can be many things. They are making for food, or they are doing, or they are fixing. እየሰሩ ነው. And as we said earlier, ሰሩ is the simple past, which means they did or they made, and እየ before and now at the end makes it present continuous. They are doing, or they are making, or they are fixing. And then on the last page it says ለማን ማንበብ እችላለሁ? And then he says, ለራሴ ማንበብ እችላለሁ። ለራሴ ማንበብ እችላለሁ. I can read to myself. ለራሴ, to myself. ራሴ means myself. So for example, in the same way, you can say ራስህ, yourself, to a man. And then ራስሽ, yourself, to a woman. And as we said earlier, ማንበብ, to read. እችላለሁ, I can. So ለራሴ ማንበብ እችላለሁ. I can read to myself. ማንበብ እወዳለሁ። ለማን ማንበብ እችላለሁ? እህቴ ተኝታለች። ለማን ማንበብ እችላለሁ? እናቴና ሴት አያቴ ስራ ላይ ናቸው። ኪችን ውስጥ ምግብ እየሰሩ ነው። ለማን ማንበብ እችላለሁ? አዎ፣ ለካ ለአባቴና ወንድ አያቴ ማንበብ እችላለሁ። አባቴና ወንድ አያቴ ስራ ላይ ናቸው። ውጪ መኪና እየሰሩ ነው። ለማን ማንበብ እችላለሁ? ለራሴ ማንበብ እችላለሁ.